Right, Don from the Motorleague is with us, and Brian Byrne, former I Mother Earth, with us as well, as Brian is on the new Motorleague single called Discordia. So welcome, gentlemen. Brian, you are under a cloak today, so just so everybody's aware that their screen is working just fine. And Don, nice to see you. It's been a while. The last time was at the Music Hall in Oshawa, and I think, could it be 4 years ago already? Man, time is really flying, isn't it?
Yeah, it would have to be. I would have maybe even more. Unfortunately, would that have
Yeah,
been with maybe with the Lazies or Big Sugar or I don't remember.
might
And
have been
we
with the Lazies.
yeah we've been there a few times. It's such a great
Yeah.
venue.
And Brian, the last time I saw you was at the Music Hall in Oshawa. You were with I Mother Earth, and you did a question and answer period for an hour and a half. And I saw you in your little trailer between sets, getting changed to come out and do. I think it was a 3-hour set. You guys were on fire that night.
Yeah, that wasn't my idea. I can tell you that. but it really was a super fun night. It was awesome.
That's great. Brian, really quickly, can we do a little catch up with you?
Sure.
You kind of reemerged last year with Bonds of Mara, and we were really disappointed when you weren't able to follow through. There were some health issues. Everything on track? You good?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a funny thing because when all that stuff happened, to be completely honest and transparent, I actually thought it was an issue with my heart. I thought it was a heart attack, and that was actually what I was told. And then I went through a bunch of different stuff and found out that it was just good old fashioned anxiety. and so, unfortunate and, very, very strange. There was a lot of stuff going on at that time. So it's not surprising that something like that manifested in that way. But it's certainly, yeah, my health is tip top. I'm actually a bit of a jiu-jitsu addict. I'm on the mats like probably 8 or 9 times a week, and boxing and climbing and chasing my kids. And so yeah, no, I feel great, to be honest.
Okay, and I don't want to be on for this for too long, but one, it's a relief that it wasn't a heart attack. Two, did you sense that your anxiety was going to manifest in this way, or is this something that you were kind of used to and not aware that it might have been a problem?
Well, to be completely honest, it happened years and years ago, and I was on medication for a very brief period, but it didn't like how the medication made me feel, so I got off it, and I just learned how to deal with it in different ways. And I really, up to that point, had always been able to kind of control it, but this was like it was a big one. I was actually in the Ottawa airport when it happened, I was on my way to Toronto to do like an acoustic thing with Bonds of Mara. And they're like, yeah, no, I think you should go to the hospital. I think you've had a heart attack. I'm like, oh shit. So, but yeah, no, everything's cool. Okay. Yeah.
Well, glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. And Don, welcome in. Sorry, guy. I just wanted to catch up with Brian because I haven't seen him in quite a long time. So,
I haven't seen him either. So this is it's been a while for me too.
So let's talk about this new single of yours. It's terrific, and it's called Discordia. And Discordia, if I remember my Roman history, was the Roman god of discord and strife. I guess that's a pretty, it's a contemporary song, is it not?
Yeah, it's very. It doesn't really get into too much mythology, but you're right. That's exactly where that name comes from. I was listening to the demo of the song today, and it's a different name in the demo, and it was like, well, it's for whatever reason, the demo is Angela, and I don't even know anybody named Angela. We just kind of put that name in, and then it was like, well, we got to come up with a better name. It can't be Angela. Like it just didn't have that kind of like mysteriousness to it. I feel like I've just offended anyone named Angela. But
sorry, not to step on your toes, Don, but it's funny that you should say that, because my wife, whenever we listen to it, we have like several times, when it was done and recently and stuff, and she always sings Veronica.
Yeah, that would have been good too. I don't know any Veronicas, but
I don't either.
We could have a little bit of fun with that,
I think maybe we could have like a side hustle where we just put other people's name, like just pay us like $5. We'll re-record it with different names.
There you go. That's perfect. You could change it up every night.
We need some kind of side hustle now.
Is it like a
So
whole
things are
cameo
kind
thing?
of quiet out east, but I was reading today that holy smoke, one new case of COVID-19 in Nova Scotia. Are you in New Brunswick today, or are you in Nova Scotia?
I'm in New Brunswick, Brian. You're in Nova
Okay,
Scotia, right?
but still out
Yeah.
there. Even I think there were 4 cases today.
And oh, are we down? We're in like lockdown mode in the city that we're in.
Right.
The rest of New Brunswick is doing a lot better, but we're like in we call it red mode or whatever. So not but yeah, but hopefully it's on the down. We watch it every day, like every day 2:30 of the news conference, and the whole province is glued to not the television, but whatever, the screen.
Yeah, for well, I've been, ever since the pandemic hit, I've been watching the numbers every day. Of course, it's like appointment viewing online around 10:15 every day when the province releases the new numbers. And it was quite alarming 2.5 weeks ago, 4,500 new cases a day. Since then, we're on our third of 4 days under 2,000.
Wow.
So we're on the right course, but we were peaking out at about 800 during the first lockdown in March and April. So we still got a long way to go, which doesn't bode well for somebody in the music industry.
Well, I think for us anyway, it's a big rethink things here. I think there's a lot of things that need to change with, the music industry anyway. There's a lot of things we're finding out now that, we could have done better. Even just like, I think the last time we went on tour, they came out with this, that's right when they came out with the ban on plastic straws. I just got to like calculating all the reusable single-use plastics that we would go through on the run of like on a tour. You think 4 guys on the road, and just the amount of garbage and the amount of carbon footprint you have, it's just kind of staggering, right? So I think there's a lot of things that probably need to be reinvented, or we need to rethink the way we're doing a lot of things. So this is it's a good forced chance to do that,
Yeah, and that's what I'm hearing from everybody. So, while you'd like to be out there working and you'd like to be a little more active, there are kind of opportunities out there that you can take advantage of, and new technology gives you a means to do that. So that's a good thing. Tell me how you got hooked up with Mr. Brian Byrne.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I always want to watch myself when I say this, but like, I was a huge I Mother Earth fan. I loved the band, and then I loved when Brian joined. I loved the Blue Green Orange I killed that record. It was one of the CDs that I just broke from overuse. So obviously we knew who he was, but he was DJing in Halifax at the rock station there, and that was the first time I think we like officially met, and I think we just kind of fanboyed over each other for a little while.
Yeah, like it was, it was a weird thing when I was doing the DJ thing at the station in Halifax.
Yeah.
I knew who the Motorleague was. Like I'd heard their name around, but to be completely honest, I hadn't listened. But luckily we were playing a lot of it at the time, and I fell completely in love with the songs, and then got to meet the guys, and they were just wonderful people, and then that always sort of solidifies it for me. It was just again fanboying over each other for sure, and nothing's changed.
I don't know how if Brian knows either, but like when we got together to do this song, and when this whole recording session, and this was a little bit ago, this was before pandemic, like we didn't record this last month in the middle of COVID or anything. This was finished before COVID. But I'm just waiting for someone to email and be like, when did you record this? And I'll be like, no, we're safe.
Yeah.
But we just split with their label, and we lost, our bassist and drummer had left the band, and it was just myself and Nathan. And I think we were kind of like, okay, it's time to call it a day. And Brian, you were really instrumental in being like, no, like you guys got to keep going, like you can come back from anything, it doesn't matter. And you were really, really, really instrumental in us continuing, and just kind of like you made me want to do it again. You made me want to be like, okay, yeah, we're going through some stuff right now, like, but
Jesus, I want you to call my mom, Don. I want you to tell her that I do good things.
Yeah, man, it was great. And so, like, I just don't know if you really knew how much. I think I was on the fence. I was like, I can go either way.
No,
You know, I can just
I
be done. And you're like, no, you're not done. And I was like, all right, well.
no,
And I'm
I
glad. I'm
didn't.
glad. I'm super glad. You know, I'm happy because we did our best work. You know, like
Me
since
too.
that. So, but anyway,
I had
So it
no
was a
idea.
nice little mutual relationship that led to Brian's contribution on the new single then.
absolutely. And it was fun. Like I got chills. Like just even it's still weird. It's like, you know, when you love a band and then you end up working with someone from that band, like you absolutely love their work.
Yeah, I mean,
We're,
we when we went to the studio that day, yeah, like it was just a good, fun day. I mean,
Mm.
like there was so much going on, and I think everybody was just happy to be around each other. And I know, people say that kind of shit all the time about working with each other, where it's like, and I think, I but I would, I would say it was just a very honest, fun effort. Like there was no pressure. It just felt really fun and good, which is the way it should be.
Mm.
and it does come out in the grooves too. I mean, you can hear it. You can't fake it.
Awesome. I think
Thank
as
you.
East Coasters, when we get out in Toronto, like I know this is kind of like embarrassing to say, but like we really do feel like little kids, right? When we get out in Toronto and we're in studios, and then you know, there's just so much. We're in these studios where these legendary records were made that we absolutely love, like the studio where Billy Talent 2 was made and stuff. And we're just losing our mind over that. And then someone brings you a guitar and they're like, "Oh, this is from Our Lady Peace. They wanted you to use this guitar or whatever, or they wanted you to have it for this." And we're just like, we're losing our mind because I think we're in another world, right? It doesn't really seem like our world, but
And not only that, you're in rooms and playing gear that people you admire have played before, but you're also working with somebody, your producer, Eric Ratz. Now, is this the first time you had a chance to work with him?
this was our second session with Ratz, and I would say it was night. Like the first session was heavy. Like it was hard. It was really tough. Like the first session, we quickly realized that we were in over our heads as a band, and like he worked at a different level. You know what I mean? Just of like, oh, like it's Eric Ratz, and I think we got through it, and that was, I would say, the toughest musical experience of my life, but by far the most rewarding. And I came out of that just with a different mindset and a different outlook on how records, a different appreciation for how records are made. And when we went back, it was night and day different. It was like so much easier because we'd gone through it once. Like the first time was boot camp. That's what it was. It was how to make a record boot camp, and we were operating at a different level. And then now it's like now we can do it. But I think that made us as a band.
Okay, for those that aren't so familiar with the process, what does a guy like Eric Ratz bring to the table when he's in the studio with the Motorleague?
Oh, I mean, okay. So the first thing is, for me as the singer, like he is just he's not gonna hold your hand and be like, "Well, that was good." He'll tell you straight up, like, "That's terrible. You need to practice that. Like, you're not in close. Like, you're not hitting your notes." He'd always say, "Mark the melody" to me. That's what he would say after every take. And I'm like, "What does that mean, Mark? Like, what do you mean, mark the melody?" But he means hit your notes and really, really, really know the melody that you're supposed to sing. And with rock and roll, there's so much of it where you're just kind of faking your way through it. And I think that, for us, we just really weren't prepared enough going in the studio. Like the first time around, we didn't know our parts well enough. We weren't on the metronome as well as we should have been. And it was loose. Everything was really loose. And Ratz is like, no, like he can hear those minute little top 10% of things that most people can't hear. He hears them, and he's like, no, like this has to be perfect. Like I need emotion in these takes, and like, you have to be the best singer you can possibly be, or we're not going to do this. And the first time after we got through the week of practice with him, he said, I don't know if you guys can do this record. I don't know if there's a record here. He said, we'll try. He said, I don't know if you're at the point where you're ready to make a record in this studio with me. And it was like, that was really hard to hear. And it might have been total BS, and he might have just known that that's the thing that he needed to say. I have no idea. But I mean, that's what he said. And it was just like, wow, that was really tough. And it made us really want to prove ourselves, right? And like, we really like hunkered down and we learned our parts better and we took it a lot more seriously. Like, there's a lot of like, just like, oh, we're a rock and roll band, we're making a record, like, yay, this is fun. And then all of a sudden you're like, no, this is real. Like, there's real money on the line here. And, you know, there's, if this guy's going to put his name on it, it's got to be good.
Yeah, it's interesting. And, you know, there's a fine line that a producer has to walk between being taskmaster, babysitter, trying to lead you down the path while keeping you kind of like emotionally fit going into it, because it can be a really tough process. It can be kind of like a fight sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wondered that very much, if he's trying to gauge like, okay, how much do I have to kind of yell at these guys? How much do I have to like, is he trying to decide, you know, what amount of aggression to put in? I have no idea. Or if he's just like that with everybody, I couldn't tell you. But
right.
I think he read me like a book. And no, I have a ton of respect. I'm still afraid of him, but I have a ton of respect for him. And the funny thing is like, you know, he is that taskmaster guy. And then when we were all done, he's like, all right, let's go for burgers, I'm buying. And we're like, oh, you're a nice guy. Like, we had no idea. But no, he's
yeah. So you guys must be looking for, you're playing a live show at the Capitol in Moncton on April 21st. Is that still on?
Yeah, well, it was originally supposed to be in February, but we just postponed it. Maybe like
you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, it's up in the air. It's very up in the air if we play it or not. But we're like, well, we're gonna book a show. We're gonna try to do it. We want to get out. Like, people need to work. People in the entertainment industry, the venues are trying to keep their staff employed. Like, it's a weird time to even be like, should we be playing a show? But you know, yeah, we're gonna do it in April, and hopefully, we're hoping that by April everything's.
Yeah. Well, listen, if public health officials think it's safe and you mind all the protocols and everybody's respectful of everyone, you know, why not? And everybody wants to get out and see live music again. So,
I hope so, yeah.
Got to make a go of it, eh? Okay, then. So, gentlemen, Brian, before I let you go, Brian, we never got to talk radio at all. How did you like the gig? You were at C100 for a little while, weren't you?
It was Live 105 was the
Live 105,
was the
excuse me.
station.
I don't know the Halifax market as good as I know Toronto.
Yeah, no, I didn't like it at all, actually. And
oh,
it's not, yeah, no, and not you know, to be completely honest, the way I was sort of you know, guided in, or you know, kind of convinced to do it was, you know, you're gonna have the show and you can write this stuff and you can do, so me as an artist, I'm like, this is gonna be great. I can say stuff and I can play stuff that I want to, and so on and so forth. And it just really wasn't the gig at all. And and certainly with that station in particular, and not to mention any names, of course, you know, there's an SOP for every corporation, and I just I did not fit into what they were doing at all.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry to hear that, but an invaluable experience, I'm sure.
Oh, 100%, absolutely, a great experience. And I actually, you know, met some really good friends. One of the guys that I work with, a producer named Mark, is still one of my very dear friends, and was just at his wedding. So yeah, I mean, all good, and you know, nothing to say about the people I met there or anything like that. Not even close. Great people worked at that station.
I think you did that gig just so we could make a song together, Brian, and hopefully make it.
I think I did too, to be honest.
It all comes out now.
Yeah.
All right. Don from the Motorleague, Brian Byrne. Hey guys, thanks so much. Great to see you, and hope to see you in these parts really soon. Any new music on the agenda for you, Brian?
No, well, Don and I have to talk a little more, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm working on it, man. I'm like, come on, Brian, we got to do something together. So hopefully that's as soon as things are safe.
I sense some possibilities here.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to do that. And you know, again, you know, find the right people, because that's, you know, at this point in my life, that's what it's all about. And Don is, like, quite obviously one of those guys. So if he'll have me, I'll take it.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. The new Motorleague, Discordia, available on streaming services everywhere. Don, Brian, thank you.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thanks,
man.
guys.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Lee. Thank you
Cheers.
so much.
Stay safe.